Well, good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch. Gonna cook my first meal of the day. Been at it for quite a while this morning. Had to take my car into the shop for some recalls. So they Ubered me back home because it was going to take a while, and now I'm here just in time to make my first meal of bacon and eggs. I want to talk just about some random thoughts today while I do this. I want to talk about something that keeps coming up and in my mind has elevated itself to one of the two main reasons that I think more people who understand, give credibility to, and decide for themselves to adopt this carnivore lifestyle, there still are two major reasons. There's major reasons why they're thrown off. And it's really sad. It's really sad that when somebody's got the start, one of these two things invariably will knock them off, oftentimes within the first week. And I'm not talking about the so-called keto flu or some of the pretty noticeable changes that happen to your body, and most of them are unpleasant. Even though that does knock some people off, it's not, I think, one of the two major causes. And the two major causes of why so many people actually fail early on don't hang in there long enough to see some of the miraculous changes that happen, and happen generally within the first month. Those two changes are addiction, carbohydrate addiction, and the high cholesterol scare. And that's a shame. That's a shame. The one thing that we have the ability to overcome of the two that's easiest is the high cholesterol scare. What that takes, however, is an exception to the medical community and their advice that's become so deep-seated. Everybody knows that high cholesterol, especially high LDL, is a major cause of coronary artery disease, heart attacks. Just ask 99% of the doctors, the hospitals, the dietitians, the nurses, or anybody in the medical profession. This has been going on so long that for most of them, that's all they know. They know as fact and claim it's settled science that red meat and saturated fat and cholesterol are bad for you. And along we come saying that's wrong, it's just the opposite. And that those of us with high cholesterol are doing great, healthier than most. And interestingly enough, there really is no science. There never was any real science. There aren't any studies of any credibility that show that, indeed, cholesterol's got anything to do with it. In fact, we learn that cholesterol is an absolute necessity for your body, and your body is smart, and our own physiology, if left to do its job, will create exactly how much cholesterol it needs to make sure everything is running properly. And since cholesterol is one of the main building blocks of both our brain and our cell walls, it just makes sense that artificially trying to fight what your body's trying to do and lower this by some pretty drastic means sometimes can only make matters worse. And there indeed are studies, which you don't hear about, the doctors don't hear about it. The drug companies and the pharmaceutical companies make sure of that prove the opposite of what they're saying to us. When you've been doing this as long as I have, and you see your cholesterol number, you're happy. You know that the things that your body needs to do its job, to rebuild its cells, to fix your brain, are being made by your body in appropriate amounts. Leave the tinkering with the physiology to your own brain that has evolved over all this time. It knows what to do. If it didn't, we wouldn't be here. But we still view doctors with respect. We think they're smarter than we are because they're doctors. And when we hear that message from them and everybody else who's convinced that cholesterol is bad, it shakes us off the diet. It shakes us off. But we can do something about that. We can educate ourselves. We can demand to see the proof. The proof is out there. It's all over YouTube. You just have to look. Print copies of the studies that show that the reverse is true, that the older you get, you're healthier with higher cholesterol. All-cause mortality is lower. It is a fact as far as I'm concerned, but I'm in the vast minority of people who have taken the time to educate themselves, know who to listen to and who not to, and most importantly, have enough brain power to look at the logic of it and what makes sense. You don't have to be too smart to have some common sense and say that makes sense, and listen to the arguments. You have to be firm. You have to question your doctor. You have to ask for the studies. You have to put them on the spot. And if they think this is settled science, I don't think it's out of line to politely ask them if they could share that science with you. Most of them are too arrogant and egotistical, or simply don't have enough time to accommodate you. And many will actually fire you as a patient. I wonder how many of these doctors actually know what the truth is, but still have to make a living and practice medicine in a system controlled by the propagandists, the drug companies, the religious organizations, and Big Pharma, who's making enormous profits, especially on cholesterol-lowering medications. You can't expect them to give it up. So you can overcome that with a little education and a little reality, and ask to be shown this so-called settled science, which is not only not settled, it has never even been done. Never been done. The second thing, and the most common cause of failure of people just starting this, is my favorite buzzword, carbohydrate addiction. Compared to getting your mind right about the reality of cholesterol, fighting an addiction is most often a losing battle. In order to fight any addiction, you have to accept the fact that you are an addict. And if you can't stick to an all-meat diet for 2 or 3 weeks without overwhelming cravings and finding yourself binging on carbohydrates, you are an addict. That's the sign of an addict. The sign of an addict is somebody that no matter how much they think they have willpower or how much they want to change, their brain won't let them. Their subconscious mind is in charge. It will trick you, let you rationalize why it's okay. You will be acting like a mindless robot as you seek out the carbohydrate-rich foods that give you so much pleasure because you're addicted to them. Getting over the addiction is the hardest part, but ironically, pardon me while I beat my 6 eggs. Thank you. Let me turn the heat down a little bit. Get the eggs going. That's a lot of eggs, but this is how much food I need in a day. One of the things about carnivore is it's actually easy to undereat. It's actually easy to undereat because your hunger is so well controlled that you almost have to make a conscientious effort to eat enough food. Now, how many carbohydrate addicts have ever had that problem, saying, I don't want any more of this bread or pasta or donuts or cake or cookies. I don't want any more of that. That's the problem with addiction. It's the thing in charge of our hunger. And cravings are the tool that it uses to get what it thinks it needs. And it thinks it needs this because it's been using this stuff for fuel for so long. We've been running on sugar for so long, most of our lives, that our subconscious mind panics when the sugar goes away and the cravings are unbearable, unmanageable. I don't hear too many people talking about this, which really surprises me. Judging from my own personal experience and trying to help people and guide people to get on carnivore, I would say almost all the time, maybe 90% of the time, the thing that knocks them off is the uncontrollable cravings. It's going to be maybe a little tough if you're severely carb addicted, but you can't moderate carbohydrates if you're an addict no more than you can moderate any addictive substance. And I think carbohydrates, in my observations, are the most addictive substance that human beings have ever encountered. That addiction is fed to us. It's reinforced every day, not only by the medical community, but by the messaging of the food companies, the advertisements, the enticing images, the formulation of the foods to hit just exactly what they call the bliss point, that perfect combination of salt, sugar, and fat that makes leaving even one Dorito at the bottom of the bag an impossibility for a carbohydrate addict. I have a video I made a number of months ago with a test. And if you take that test and honestly evaluate yourself, odds are if you can't stay on a carnivore diet, it's because you are a carbohydrate addict. And you have to address that, admit it, and try to get through that first 2-3 weeks. This helps. I have a plan about how to do that. I tell you to eat until you can't move. If you have to eat 6,000 calories a day, it doesn't matter. If you gain weight, it doesn't matter. You have to overcome that addiction or failure is imminent. I've said that so many times, and that message just fades away. Fades away. I watch so many YouTube videos about carnivore. Every once in a blue moon, I hear somebody address addiction. But they always tend to be talking about other things, especially the food, how to prepare the food, how to buy the food. None of that matters if you can't stay away from the carbohydrates. So think about those two things that I just said. Think about the two things that are going to trash your attempts at doing this and achieving the results that I have coming up on almost 2 years of pure carnivore with 0 carbs. It's doable. I'm a carbohydrate addict from hell. It screwed up my whole life. It's had me yo-yo dieting for 55 years. And this is the longest that I've ever maintained a particular lifestyle and the best that I've ever felt in my life, and I would dare say the best physical shape, pain-free, that I've ever been in my life. Not to mention the mental health and clarity and so many benefits of it. And for that, you have to pay the price of the first couple of weeks. But it's easier if you don't let yourself get hungry. If you have food cooked and ready to go. Wow, that is a big omelet. If you follow these simple rules, never let yourself get hungry. Always have food ready to eat. If you even think you're hungry, eat. Eat a lot. Eat till you don't want to eat. Eat until you have to push the plate away. And you can do that for 30 days. It'll become 90% at least easier to control your addiction. Your cravings will all but go away. And you're really on the path to fixing all the damage that's been done to us as a human race. I would say for almost 100 years. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Just eat a lot of food. I eat as much food as I can eat in a day. And I've weighed 138 pounds now for over a year. I will not gain weight. My body likes this weight that it's at, and it's going to stay here. My breakfast is ready. I'm going to take the rest of the day off, and I recommend that you do too. And for God's sakes, not only eat meat, but eat a lot of meat. See if I'm not right. You can go to my website at oldguycarnivore.com. On there, I've got a page that says links to stuff I use every day. These links take you to Amazon affiliate links of mine. And when you buy something through these links, it helps support the channel. Here is everything I use, every kitchen tool, gadget, and everything else. If you think, and there's no obligation, but if you think you might want to get some of the stuff that I use in my videos and do this yourself, whether it be food, supplements, kitchen appliances, tools, gadgets, frying pans, whatever. I would really appreciate it. oldguycarnivore.com. Links to stuff I use page. Doesn't cost you a dime more, and you're really helping me continue to do what I do.